All right, hey, what's going on? It is Scott Penfold here for a special edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. Going to have a couple of guests with us this week, and can't wait to be speaking with both of them. First off, I'm going to be speaking with the one and only Jake ONI, who is the main man, you could say, behind the band that is ONI, who have the new album, The Silver Line, and a great album which features appearances from Howard Jones from Like the Torch and formerly Killswitch Engage, and Josh Gilbert as well, Spirit Box and formerly of As I Lay Dying. And the third release from ONI, and it's available now, called The Silver Line. So we're going to be talking about that. And in the second portion of the podcast, I'm going to be speaking with the one and only Ian Thornley. Now, Ian is the frontman for Big Wreck, and Big Wreck have a whole bunch of new EPs they're going to be dropping, and they're called Pages, as Big Wreck have been dropping EPs lately instead of full albums. And we'll be talking about that with Ian in the second portion of the podcast as well. I've always wanted to ask Ian Thornley about the time that he was almost slated to be the lead singer for the band Velvet Revolver. This is after the passing of Scott Weiland, and I've never had the chance to ask Ian about that, so I'll be asking him about that a little bit later on. I've just always wanted to ask him about that experience, so really excited to be doing that, and as well speak with Jake ONI from ONI. But before we get into that, if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for all your hard rock and metal content, and do check out loadedradio.com for all your hard rock and metal news, updated constantly 24/7, the live 24-hour radio station, and as well past episodes of this very podcast, which you can get there too, okay? Oh, and don't forget, download the Loaded Radio app. It's completely free and get you all that stuff right to your device, okay? All right, but let's get down to it then. First off, being joined by this gentleman here. He's the main man from the band ONI, and they have the new album called The Silver Line. The band's latest album, made up of 9 songs, which features guest appearances from such people as Jared Dines, Howard Jones, Josh Gilbert, and Michael Lassard. And ONI, of course, known for his work with Mark Morton from Lamb of God on his solo material there as well. And he joins us now. He is Jake ONI. How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us on the Load Radio podcast this week.
What's up, Scott?
Hey, Jake. How are you, man?
Good. How's it going?
Great. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today, man. Really do appreciate that.
No problem.
But I did want to dive right into things when it comes to the new album. Not working with Josh Wilbur again this time around, and going on to work with Josh Wilbur this time around, and going on to work with Josh Gilbert and Joe McQueen. Why the change up there? What happened there?
Honestly, just felt like a good move, and I got to know Josh and Joe pretty well working on another album with them, and we hit it off and wanted to try working together, and it's been great.
How was it working with Josh Gilbert and Joe McQueen as a duo? How was that whole process with them?
They're awesome. They're I consider them really good friends of mine, and Josh is incredibly talented at writing, and Joe is incredibly talented writing and by going behind the computer with engineering and stuff, and I bring the vocals, and it's a beautiful team that we have going on. We really capture a unique sound between the three of us working together, and it's always fun, and I think the songs speak for themselves. That they're pretty cool too. So we got a good thing going, and we're just trying to see how far we can push things. Well,
tell me about how you got Howard Jones involved in that one.
We got Howard Jones just because I've known Howard for so long, and he'd come down and visit me, and we were we were all there, and we were Howard should jump on this song. He did awesome vocals on the song, and it was sick.
And how about working with Jared Dines? How'd that come about?
Jared's great. Again, through Joe McQueen and Josh Gilbert, they know him pretty well from the Scion stuff, along with Howard. And Jared's super talented guitar player, total homie as well. Just a good dude. And yeah, I'm privileged to work with these guys, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the same goes for Kellen Quinn from Sleeping with Sirens, same kind of deal? Some kind of something.
I never actually hung out with him. We've never met in person.
Yeah.
But that was more management side of things, hooking that up.
Yeah.
But Jared and Howard I've been friends with for years. Or not Jared, but Howard I've been friends with for years. And Jared feels like I've been friends with him for years. It's crazy.
Yeah. Now, for some people who may not know or may not be as familiar, ONI been around since, of course, 2014. When you initially got this outfit together, when you got this project going, what were your intentions?
Honestly, man, I was talking about this today. My intentions when making music were always just to make music for the purity and joy of making music. Yeah. And because I'd be doing this no matter what. But ONI wasn't really my thing. It was more like the people that I was making music with thing. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really my style of music necessarily, and that was very bad for me. Like I think making no music's better than making music you don't want to make.
Right.
It should be up to the artist to reflect themselves and how they want to make music and stuff. So now I'm making music that I want to make, and I'm losing a lot of fans that love the old sound, a lot of like the metal prog fans, but I'm
Yeah.
gaining so many fans that like the new sound. So it's one of those things, like you can't make everyone happy. You might as well be the artist and take the initiative and do what you want to do. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. You can't put a painter in a room with some paints and stuff and say, go paint, the Mona Lisa. If they're not inspired, they're not going to do it. So I'm tired of making music I don't want to make and just making music I like. It's less heavy, it's less prog, but it's catchy hooks and sweet melodies, and that's the type of song. I matured so much since then, and I really like what I'm making now.
So it was a deliberate evolvement of the sound then. I mean, it's something that you obviously set out to do.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I definitely set out now to make music that I want to make, while before it was always someone else's sort of vision, like the old band and stuff. So it's just different, What was meant to always be my project wasn't really my project, and now it is. So that's how it should be.
Even just going back to some of your past work too. I mean, of course, you and Mark Morton working together. Is there still a relationship with you and Mark? You guys still tight?
Dude, Mark and me are homies for life, dog.
Nice, dude. Nice.
And there's no reason why we won't do songs again in the future. Like we made cool songs together before, Heart to Stone, Ironheart, like a lot of cool songs. So we'll definitely do it again. It might even be a scenario. Sorry, I'm sick. It might even be a scenario where Joe, Josh, and Mark are all in the same room, and like whoever. Mark's the homie, and he's such a sick guitar player, and I'm so honored to have made 2 albums with him, one for him, one for me.
Speaking about Mark, though, of course, co-writing Cross Off with the late Chester Bennington on that one. Did you work directly with Chester on that, or was it just you?
No, so I wrote lyrics and just sent it to them, and I was meant to meet Chester, and then Chester died.
Oh, so no way, really?
I got to meet him. It's funny, I saw them live twice growing up, Lincoln Park, and was the biggest Chester Bennington fan. Like, I don't think if it wasn't for me seeing them live, I probably wouldn't be doing this. So he was a big influence on me and my style of music still to this day. But yeah, that was a trip, man. Working with that guy and him singing my lyrics and stuff was really cool. Yeah, it's a shame I never got to meet him because he was stoked. He was going to do another song with Mark.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah. There were plans for that.
Did you expect the song to go to become as big as it became?
Honestly, it didn't really become that big. It wasn't the biggest song as it could have been. And a lot of that was, the chorus itself. I don't it's not like a Linkin Park song, and it's not a Lamb of God song. It's its own thing, but definitely could have been bigger, I think. Any disrespect to any of the guys, you know what I mean? I think it's cool that it exists, and I think if the same group of guys had another swing at it, it would be even sicker.
It seemed to get picked up by a lot of rock radio stations in North America, though. That's one thing I did notice. A lot of them were playing.
Yeah, like it's a great song. I just think, there would have been more, and it's a shame that it ended so soon. Yeah.
How was it touring with Megadeth earlier this year? How was that?
Oh, that was fun as hell, man. That was really cool. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, did you get to know Dave at all? Did you get to hang out with Dave much? Talk to him?
No, not really.
No?
I sort of keep to myself, and he keeps to himself. So it was nice. It's always nice being on the road,
Yeah, definitely. Plans for going back on the road sometime soon, though, in support of the album, anything at all, or what's your plans?
That'll be down the line for sure.
Orange Shore Music Group, you still running that? What's going on with that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I still have my studio. I'm going independent now with the label and stuff. I don't really like being in a label situation because I think I'm too nice to like make those type of deals with artists. I don't think artists should be told what to do. I don't think artists should be told by A&Rs and label people how to run their lives, and they should just do their own thing and keep their money and keep their rights, their songs, and make music for the right reasons. So I've sort of stepped back from the label side of things because it's just not really for me. But that's a whole other topic of conversation.
Sure. Now, who are you listening to these days? Who are you digging right now?
Dude, I'm on my my gangster shit as always, just whatever I like. A lot of rap, a lot of like Suicide Boys, Jake Hill. I'm just going Lil Uzi Vert, Fat Nick. At the same time, listen to my metal shit too. Like, I love crossover and I love experimentation. So like a lot of Lil Uzi stuff and Trippie Redd stuff that has a rock element to it is really cool. I listen to a lot of Russian and like Jamaican artists too that do similar kind of cool stuff, and Tommy Lee Sparta. And metal wise, I really like Alpha Wolf these days. I think they're dope. Newish In Flames, I'm still listening to the shit out of that. That's really cool.
It is cool, yeah.
Enterprise Earth. Yeah, it's weird because I go through phases where I draw inspiration, from like games or from movies or from other shit podcasts. I don't always listen to music. Yeah, because I tend to end up ripping people off subconsciously if I keep listening to the same stuff over and over again. But yeah, man, I'm sort of late to the game on Juice WRLD, getting into that stuff, and that's really cool.
Now, taking it back to the Silver Line, the album, like, what's your writing process for your music when you're creating an album? What's your process?
Josh put it like this. He says, I have something inside of me that can just make melodies and songs that sound good. So I just literally listen to a instrumental and just sing whatever nonsense comes to mind. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. But when it's good, we keep it, and that becomes the album. Right. There's not this drawn out like thought process behind the lyrics or behind the melody. Like we just do what feels good and stay true to ourselves as much as possible. And that's, I think, the key to making good songs.
Thanks so much, dude. Appreciate that. And the new album, man. I can't wait to hear the rest of it. Got it right here in my hands. Going to hear it today. So thanks so much, pal. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome. Talk to you later.
There he is. That's Jake ONI. And the name of the new album is The Silver Line. Go check that out. It's pretty damn badass, man. Some great guest appearances on there as well. And it just comes in short of 30 minutes. A great listen. It's got some great, powerful stuff on there, okay? But it is Scott Penfold. What is going on? It is the second portion of the podcast now where I'm going to be joined by the one and only Ian Thornley. He's the front man, the main man behind the band Big Wreck. They have the new EP Pages, which is the first of many, which is going to be coming out in the days ahead to, again, put together, I'm guessing, a full album. So, yeah, man, always great to talk with this guy. He's Ian Thornley from Big Wreck. Ian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Good. You feeling better?
Bit by bit.
It's going around, man. Everyone's getting terribly ill these days.
So I keep hearing.
But I did want to talk about the new EP Pages coming out November 24th. Now, I know that you're working with Nick Raskunas on this one, and I do want to talk about Nick, you working with him. But first off, why the decision to release just a number of EPs instead of a full-length album?
Chiefly for me, I just kind of figured that through the years, I've always been an album cut kind of guy, more so than a singles kind of guy. And I feel like as a writer, and I think us as a band, as performers, I think we tend to lean into the album tracks as hard, if not harder, than whatever the potential single might be. And I just found it a shame that I think some of our best work gets overlooked because it's further down, like the dusty end of the record, like track 10 or 11 or 12. I kind of thought that with everybody's attention span sort of shortening, and nobody really looking at an album of music as listening to an album of music as the activity anymore. It's more of something that happens off to the side while you're doing something else these days. Anyway, I just kind of figured it would be an interesting experiment to see if we released 5 or 6 songs at a time, if each of those songs would get close to the same amount of attention, at the very least from our existing fans and potentially from new fans. And I'm not sure, but I think it's working. and having said that, I mean, the 7 records, the EPs that we've previously released, we recorded all those at the same time, and then just released them. And we staggered the release of each EP. And the same is going to happen with Pages. Well, it'll be Pages 1, 2, or 3, however many pages we decide to release. But we have recorded, I keep forgetting to count, it's 17 or 18 songs that are fully done and fully recorded and ready to be mixed. 6 of them, well, the 6 that are on Pages 1 are mixed and mastered and ready to go. So we'll see if it works and see if people dig it. I'm sure there are some people my age who long for the days of yore and put on the album and read the credits and look
totally, man. Yeah.
That's a sort of a process that I certainly miss. But having said that, I also get it. Like, when's the last time I personally have sat down and listened to a new album by an artist or a band that all the way through from top to bottom? I'll do that with the tried and true, the records that I know and have known for years. But yeah, it's a big ask. I get it. So, we'll just give them bite-sized chunks and see if they can handle it. They have the singles in there, but they might be sandwiched between a couple of 8 or 9 minute songs,
Well, I got to ask how it is working with Nick as a producer. I mean, he's worked with a lot of people, man. Nick Rascalanesh, of course, a great producer. How do you find working with him?
It's great. He's a buddy. We've worked together a bunch. He did the second Thornley record,
yep,
where it was just him and I basically doing the whole thing. And then for Albatross, he was involved with Albatross, and we put together with Eric Ratz in the mix as well. And then Ghost was the same thing. And I don't know, we've been in touch since then, and always had a mutual respect and a desire to work together again. And when I'm down Nashville way, he'll swing by and, he'll come to a show or take us out to lunch. And he's just a great guy and always been a great friend. And I think really it's just about timing. And then the idea, as I was amassing all this music to potentially do something with it, I just started sending him stuff. And he's a real great sounding board. I'm sure not just for me, but just someone who's a great sort of bird's eye view of possibilities. He'll hear a piece of music and say, you know what I can hear with this. And instantly it sparks your imagination and sends you off in maybe a slightly different direction where you'll do something that perhaps you wouldn't have just on your own. And that's something that's immeasurably important. I think when you're in the writing process and everything's kind of unsure and you're like, I don't know, should I send this to the guys? Like, I don't know if this is really going to cut the mustard. Right. And you can send it to him. And he'll see where I'm going, and he'll see what I'm going for, and I don't have to be self-conscious about it. And oftentimes, more often than not, it's the ones that seem like a bit more of a stretch, the ones that seem a little off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Where he'll be like, and I'll tuck it in with a couple of bangers. I'll send him 3 songs, and 2 of them I'm like, okay, well, that chorus is a smash. That chorus is great, and the verse is slamming. And I'll send him a really weird, almost proggy, sprawling sketch of a musical idea. Yeah. And that's the one he'll gravitate towards, and I love that about him, and I love it that he loves that about me. So we just kind of nerd out in a lot the same ways. There's very little that we disagree on musically. So I think it's just a good fit, and the guys love him, and I'm really happy with how things turned out. It would certainly be different if we didn't have Nick in the mix, because there's probably a bunch of music that I wouldn't have. They would have just fell flat, and I wouldn't have sent them to the guys because I was a little too self-conscious about it. I was like, this is a little bit too, insert somebody that's not. Air quotes cool. This is a little too different for us, let's say. And he leans into that and makes me lean into it, and he's a great cheerleader as well. So he'll get the whole gang excited about this whole thing of mashing together Metallica and the Beach Boys or whatever, that's a bad example. But you know what I mean? That's sort of that kind of thing.
Well, another cool thing is you have a new home at Sonic Onion. How did that whole thing come about?
Through our manager, Ryan. I think he has a relationship with Tim and the people at Sonic Onion. And we got out of our deal with Warner after the first of the 7 EPs. Okay. And we're just sort of releasing them on our own. And it just seems the way that things are going, I think ideally you want to own as much of your own music as you can.
Sure.
Because I think having a big giant label behind it doesn't really mean the same thing as it did when we first signed our first record deal. It's right. Different. It's a different game out there. And Sonic Onion, I think, is a little more tuned to our channel, if you will. Yeah. Excited about the music that they're hearing, and it should be a great and fun partnership. I'm hoping.
I know that you're going to be hitting the Coast to Coast Canadian tour. That's coming up. Are you going to be playing new material on the tour? What can people expect with these shows?
That's the idea right now. We're going into rehearsals shortly. But yeah, the idea now is to sort of pepper the set with some new stuff. I'm aware that the record's officially coming out sort of partway through the tour. So there will be a few shows where we might be springing some pieces of music on people that they have never heard before, and I realize that can be a bit of a challenge or a nice way to sort of ice the room, if you will. But
right.
I think we have enough back catalog that we can sort of sandwich something new with a couple of hit slams on either side of it.
Yeah, you never know. They may dig it, man. They may love it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a challenge that I relish too. Is a room full of virgin ears and trying to really bring them along and not so much sell it, but if they trust us enough, they'll hopefully see the beauty in it or hear the beauty in it that we do.
Because this is something that a lot of people I've rocked in so many conversations about this. And just to get it from the horse's mouth, your experience with the whole Velvet Revolver thing, are you happy the way things turned out with that?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't really think about it.
No?
A long time ago now, but
I know, yeah.
It wouldn't have been a good fit, looking back on it. Their sort of formula, if you will, at least back then, was having that sort of, that Hollywood frontman thing, which it's not really in my DNA. I never learned those moves. I don't want to learn those moves. It's not really my bag.
Sure.
And nobody did it better than Scott Weiland. That guy was just as captivating a frontman as you could want. Mm-hmm. And having said that, going and jamming with the guys was a fun experience because they're all great guys and surprisingly so. And I think what Slash is doing with Miles is great. Mm-hmm. Miles is sort of we're cut from the same cloth. I think musically he's a guitar player first, and then he's become the tremendous singer that he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it would have worked. It's not really my bag, and I was just about to release a record at the same time anyway. And honestly, the music with me singing it sounded great.
I can imagine. Yeah.
The manager guy that they had, who I didn't realize was watching the whole rehearsal, came out of whatever corner he was hanging out in and said, "Can we try a couple with Ian not holding the guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen."
Now, is there any audio existing of those performances?
Well, they were filming it, so I think it's somewhere. To see how I looked on camera, I'm sure.
That would be cool, man. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, it was fun, and like I said, man, great bunch of guys, very welcoming and very just down to earth, really. So yeah, it was it was what it was, and it was not meant to be.
Awesome. You know what, Ian, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. I'll always love it when I hear that I can get a chance to talk to you. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here today.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
There he is. That's Ian Thornley. And the name of the new EP from Big Wreck is called Pages. And yeah, man, such a great band. I'm such a huge fan of these guys and really love it. Every time an album drops from Big Wreck, I'm like, okay, I got to put that one on because it's just such a great listen, dude. All right, that's going to do it for me, though, okay? Another episode of the podcast under wraps and done. Don't forget, again, check out loadedradio.com for all your hard rock and metal news, the 24-hour live stream featuring live personalities and programs, as well past episodes of this very podcast. And hey, don't forget, you can download the free Loaded Radio app. Get it wherever you get your apps or at loadedradio.com, okay? I'll talk to you again next week right here on an all-new edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. I'm Scott Penfold, and we'll talk to you then.
Loaded Radio.